All right, you guys, we are back. Well, I'm back. I've been gone for a little bit, but it's because I was busy. You know, I work, and working has definitely recovered from the panoramic. So I'm basically here today because we need to talk about something that's very serious. So you guys are aware that I work for a major airline, correct? Correct. Okay, so biggest thing is that my airline will be opening up applications for flight attendants this coming end of August. So figured why not jump on here and give you guys some insight on what the work life would be like. And I feel like we should have a conversation because some of you might have questions as to, you know, should I apply? You know, I, for one, am a parent, and I also work, you know, as a flight attendant. So some of you might be parents out there of little ones. And I wanted to come on and give you just 5 things to think about before you decide to apply for this airline. And that's any airline in general, to be honest with you, because every airline might be different, but some of them, you know, they have similarities in certain ways and aspects. So here are my 5 tips for you. And I hope that you consider these things before you decide to apply, just because, you know, if you have children, that's a big thing. And I know a lot of people actually that are flight attendants and they have kids, but one of my tips is definitely going to center around an important aspect of parenting while being a flight attendant, and I want you guys to take that into aspect because I've been there, I've done it. I've been flying for this airline for about 2.5 years. It'll be almost 2.5 years, and over these 2.5 years, to be technical, I'm still basically pretty junior. And I know everyone talks about, okay, let's boost the seniority, and yes, we'd love to have you guys on, but at the same time, I do know people that have come into this and gone the entire route through training, get on the line, and then they no longer work for this company. So it's important for me to come to you guys and give you the real of what this life is like, the real of the career, the behind the scenes that nobody sees besides serving like the Cokes and the cookies and all that stuff. And that's, you know, that's all I think that we do. But yeah, it's still a life. It's still a lifestyle. All right, you guys. So first thing to think about is scheduling. You guys are probably wondering what your work schedule life will look like. And compared to, okay, I have my work life and then I have my personal life. How do these two combine? So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Your first few years, so I'm about almost 2.5 years in, and my first year working, I didn't work Thanksgiving, which was very surprising. I did work Christmas. I worked Christmas Eve, and I worked New Year's Eve into New Year's. So I only had one holiday off, which I was very surprised to get to begin with. And besides that, scheduling during your first year specifically, let's talk about first year. Let's just focus on that one, because that's the biggest thing, because people want to know that right off the gate when they get on the line and they graduate, what is your schedule going to look like? You'll be working most weekends. When I started in the summer of 2018, and it was a crazy summer. But to be honest with you, that has now prepared me for summers after that. So it's like now let me not say that I'm used to summers, but I am able to deal with them more because we started in the summer, literally in the middle of the summer. But yeah, scheduling, you'll be working most weekends. You're probably gonna miss a lot of, you know, major holidays such as Christmas, Thanksgiving, sometimes even New Year's. And I know that means a lot to some people. I could care less about New Year's, but other people care a lot about New Year's. Birthdays, anniversaries, soccer games, basketball games for your kids. Like, you're gonna miss out on certain things that you wish you could be there for, especially during your first year of being on the line. So I definitely want you guys to consider that. Let me see what else I put in here in my notes. But yeah, that was basically the entirety of it. Yes, you're gonna be having to miss, you know, most work. You're gonna be having to work on most holidays and weekends, missing important events in your life, you know, weddings and stuff like that. You might not be able to make. There are, you know, possibilities of swapping, which we'll get into another, which we'll talk about in another video. and that kind of stuff. But most of the time when you're that junior and you're fresh on the line, the probability of you getting that time off is very slim to none. And I just want you guys to be mentally prepared for that, because I don't want you to come onto the line and expect things to, you know, whatever you've heard from your friends and like, oh yeah, girl, you can get Christmas off, you know, let's be straight up now. Like, let's be straight up. It's a probability that it might not happen. It might not. So don't get your hopes up and don't expect to, you know, move random waters, because you're not the only person trying to get these holidays off. Like, there are other people who've been flying for maybe more years than you who are trying to get the same holiday off, and the chances of you getting it off in your first year of working, probably not going to happen. All right, so my second thing is work days. So I'm sorry, y'all, I don't mean to laugh. It's just like, when I think about it, like, the thoughts that I used to have before I got on the line to the thoughts that I have now that I work as a flight attendant, it's just, it's definitely changed. Like, I knew that it wasn't gonna be, you know, like strawberries and rainbows and ponies, but there are days when I'm literally exhausted. Like, this past summer, after the pandemic, has been one of the most mentally exhausting summers that I've worked. And I know it is due from the pandemic. Like, you know, a lot of people were stuck in their houses for a year, and now all of a sudden they get to get out the house and go travel and do everything that they used to do and go see their families, and that's great, and I'm very happy for those people. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who went through mental health, like, they declined mentally. Like, they weren't taking care of themselves when they were in a pandemic. So all these things and the stories that you hear in the news about, you know, people trying to break into a cockpit or causing disruptions on planes because of the mask compliance and stuff like that, I want you guys to take that into consideration, because yes, we've gone through a pandemic, and yes, we are coming back from it, but there are still people who have not, you know, like, they're just not they're not there mentally. And when I say that mental health matters so much, like, if you need to go talk to somebody, please go talk to it. Please go talk to them. I do have a video on depression and anxiety and how I deal with it in my life, and I will link that in the description box. But it's just it's crazy, because it's like, now when I go to work, like this summer, I've been having to go to work with the mentality of anything could happen today. Anything. Like, I never ever thought, like, I'd always see stories and, you know, would hear about it from other people, hear these stories and everything like that, but I never thought I'd have to experience it. And it's just, I have yet to experience anything like bad, like anyone trying to breach a cockpit or, you know, or like hurt me or anything like that, or like spit in my face or punch me in my face. Like, I haven't had to experience that, thank God. But it's still something that you have to think about, because that's the reality of the job. Like, you put your life on the line, being surrounded by people that you don't know, and you don't know what they're capable of, and you don't know what they're going through. So it's honestly more of you have to, yes, you're there for, you know, passenger safety, but you also need to learn to protect yourself, and that's the biggest thing. So always be aware of that there's other people in the world going through things and you don't know. So I wouldn't say keep your guard up when you're at work, but just always be thinking. Be like, you know, when you go through training, they're going to be talking about situational awareness. And that's one of those big things that you just need to be aware of your surroundings. Who's around you? How are people acting? Like, read the room. That's a big, big, big thing. And I used to not do that at all. And now I've been working on it a lot more since the summer came around and all of the articles and videos and stuff coming out. Y'all, can I just say this about the whole mask compliance thing? It's not that serious. And I say that because we, as flight attendants, have to wear the mask all day. And the possibility of you working, especially during the summer, during storms, weather, delays, reroutes, you could possibly end up wearing your mask for about 14, 15 hours a day. That's like half the day. So to me, it's like, okay, I get it. You're a passenger. You have your thoughts. You have your opinions. You don't think you should have to wear this on a plane. In my eyes, I just see it as you're on a flight for 2, 3, maybe 6, 7 hours. Just wear the mask. And mind you, you don't really have to wear it the whole entire time, because if you're eating or drinking, you could take it off to sip and chew. But we have to wear those things all day, because we're always on the front line. And when we're in our uniforms, we are on the front line. Everyone's looking at every single thing we do. Even if you think that they're not looking, they're looking. So the biggest thing is just, just follow the rules. We don't ask for much. We really don't ask for much. And honestly, it's exhausting for us, because you think we want to tell you guys to put your masks on like when you don't have them on. No, we don't. We'd rather do other things with our time. What I wrote on here was rolling delays. So what a rolling delay is basically when your flight is first delayed. Like, they'll say, okay, your flight's delayed, but then they're going to continue increasing the time that your flight is delayed. Now, as a flight attendant, we don't get paid for that. We don't get paid for a delay. We don't get paid, like, people think that we, oh, they don't care. Like, oh, we care because we're not getting paid. So when you're delayed, when your aircraft is on the ground, or if your aircraft is not even there yet, if you're waiting for an aircraft to come in for you to work on, for you to start your work day, and you're delayed, whether it be due to a mechanical, whether it be due to weather, we are not getting paid. And the thing is that delays can go from as little as like a 30-minute delay to like a 6, 7 hour, 8 hour, 10 hour. Your flight ends up getting canceled, or you time out. Like, it could last all day. And you are basically sitting around waiting to hear on what you should be doing. So it's it's kind of like a waiting game. Like, you're literally in the same situation as the passengers. Like, y'all are waiting so y'all can go. Like, you have nothing else that you could possibly do besides eat and chat with your crew. Like, there's nothing else to possibly do. So that's something to definitely consider, because your work day, it's not going to always go as planned. There are always IROPs that can change your entire day completely. You could be, wanting to end up somewhere and you end up in a completely different city. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But yes, so rolling delays, like I said, mechanicals happen all the time, where you're playing something, your pilots are doing their checks. They're going around the plane, they're checking to make sure everything looks good. You're doing your checks inside the plane, and something could be missing, something could be broken, something could be leaking. The plane doesn't turn on. Like, things happen. Also weather is a big thing, especially during the summer months. Like I said, thunderstorms, hurricanes, tropical storms, tornadoes. Like, weather's a big thing, and that's all year round. And even in the winter months, like the snow and having to, like, it takes longer because you have to de-ice the aircraft and stuff like that. So that takes about, it could take like 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, depending on where you're at. But yeah, there's always something in your work day. Only other thing I wrote in here was could possibly work 14 to 15 hour days, or even into your off days. So yeah, you can definitely be put into your off day, and that's happened a lot this summer, where you'll be working a rotation and you'll get rerouted on the rotation, and sometimes that reroute leads into you having to lay over into a city the night that you're supposed to be going back to base. And because of that, you end up sleeping into your off day. Now that next day, they're probably going to deadhead you home, or you can deviate your deadhead. I know, flight attendant verbiage. But which basically means you can just go home instead of going back to your base if you don't live at your base. But yeah, it's a lot of things that could happen in your workday. So I say that to say, when it comes to planning, to plan accordingly. Always think that there's something that could happen. Don't ever think that, oh, today's gonna go exactly as I planned. I'm gonna end up in Atlanta, and then that night you end up in Minneapolis. Like, there's so many things that could possibly happen. And I also say that to say, when it comes to planning things with friends or family that might live in different cities, I don't do that. Like I've tried it before. Like when I first started flying, I would be like, oh yeah, I'm coming to so-and-so place on Thursday night. We can go have dinner, have some drinks, blah, blah, blah. And I never make it there. I don't make it there because we end up getting rerouted or somewhere, or something else happens, or literally, y'all, just don't do it. Because like, okay, it'd be different if you're like on that aircraft and you hit up your friend like, oh, I'm heading here, and that's your last leg to get to that destination. That's it. Sometimes, and even then you might get diverted due to something. You never know. But just always plan accordingly, and don't make plans. I would just strive against it, because it's just not. I don't want you guys to continue disappointing people because they think you're gonna come. And the thing is, it's not about you. It's about them not understanding your lifestyle. And especially when if this is your first like career as a flight attendant, people don't get it. They don't. Unless they live this lifestyle, they do not understand. So the biggest thing you can do is explain to them, you know, like, yeah, I had plans to, go out there, this weekend or blah, 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 and it just didn't happen. Or just don't say anything at all until you get there and be like, hey, I'm here. Do you want to go out and get something? Then that's different. But yeah, I've learned the hard way with that one. Like, so my sister lived in Chicago, and like last month I had 2 trips that had Chicago layovers. The first one that I had, I didn't make it to because I was stuck in Florida due to, I forgot which hurricane it was. It was one of those hurricanes, and all the flights to New York out of Florida were canceled, so I couldn't even get there. So yeah, that I didn't even make it there because. And we had like plans to like do brunch and all this stuff. I did end up seeing her, of course, at the end of the month on my second trip to Chicago with a layover, so it was okay. But yeah, like that's just an example. Like, just don't do it, y'all. All right, so my third thing is being a people person. Y'all might look at me and be like, it's a flight attendant job, like you have to like people, right? Y'all, when I tell you that I have flown with people that do not like people, like they're there literally to make their money and go home. And I've seen flight attendants treat people like they are not even human. I've also seen passengers treat flight attendants as if we're not human. I've seen it all, basically. But the biggest thing is, if you don't have the empathy, the ability to feel anything towards other people, maybe you shouldn't take this job. Like, maybe you shouldn't even want to get into it. You're dealing with people all day. And yes, people can be exhausting. By the end of some days, I literally don't even want to talk to anyone. Like, I'm done. I've checked out. But at the same time, during that day, like, you have to talk with people. You gotta, have a little friendly conversation. A little blah, blah, blah. A little something, something. At least a hello or goodbye. But just have a heart. Because there are days that things happen. I've had a day where I was on a flight and this lady, like, she was having like a medical emergency. And in my mind, I literally went into, okay, I need to make sure that she's okay. I did not leave that woman's side until she was with the paramedics. And they were like, we've got it from here. Like, there are just those days where it's like you need to go into this job having a heart and having the ability to have patience with people. Because there are some people that have never flown on a plane in a day in their life. And we complain all the time. Like, flight attendants, we vent to each other all the time. And it's like, sometimes I think about it, and I personally call it plane brain. And it's the brain that clicks in when you get onto an aircraft and you no longer know where you are, what you're doing. So that's my definition of plane brain. But yeah, it's just having a heart, y'all. Like, you literally never know what these people are going through. Some of these people are so appreciative of us, and they tell us every single day, or every flight that they catch with us, they do not hesitate to let us know that they appreciate us. Some people won't even say a word to you the entire flight. Some people won't even acknowledge you as a person, as a flight attendant. Like, they don't care. Like, you'll be taking somebody's order and they will not even make direct eye contact with you. But you know what? You always got to be the bigger person. So you have to learn a way to cope with that, because not everybody's going to like you. And that's just the world that we live in, y'all. But at the end of the day, it's like you still have a job that you have to do, which is taking care and making sure those people are safe from taxi to landing. Like, that's just what it is. That's the job that you signed up for. So yeah, in training, they definitely strive on that, is safety. That's like the biggest thing that we learn in flight attendant training. Is safety. Like, that's the number one aspect. You don't really learn how to be a flight attendant until you get on the line. But that's also for another video, for another day. And I'll give you guys that tea later. All right, so number four is commuting. So in this new lifestyle that you're looking to enter into, there is a chance, most likely, that this is how it works. Commuting is basically when you don't live at your base. You live at, in a different city that's not where you're based at, where you're given. In training, I think the first or second day, they give you options as to which bases are available to bid for. And so you pick, you pick whatever works best for you. Some people live in these cities, other people don't. They used to have a Tampa base, so I live in Tampa, Florida. They used to have a Tampa base, but they closed it. It was like a small little baby base anyways. But yeah, I didn't pick that. Honestly, my first bid was for New York, and I was scared out of my brain. So they'll give you like a few cities, like our major bases. You could be like New York, Boston, Atlanta is our hub. You got LAX, you have, Seattle, you have Salt Lake City. Multiple bases are given to you as options. When you don't live at those bases, you're a commuter. Unless you want to move to your base, which is always an option. So I live in Tampa, Florida. My base is in New York City. So anytime that I have to work, I have to report to New York. Because you're commuting, where are you going to stay when you get to your base? So I had a crash pad, which is basically just a place that we multiple flight attendants or pilots live in. And yeah, we just share a common space. There's bunk beds and rooms. Yeah, you share a bathroom. Some people do not want to do that, and they sleep in the lounge, or they go to hotels and stuff like that, which is more than, that's your personal choice if you choose not to stay in a crash pad. I stay in a crash pad just because it's, it's a decent price, and I have some place to lay my head. I'm not one to sleep in recliners and lounges. That's just not my jam. And I don't really want to pay for a hotel. I don't know. When I first got on the line, I had no intention to stay at a crash pad, by the way. But it just ended up that way because it kind of just landed in my lap. But yeah. So you always look at your options, see which works best for you, and also, financially, what works best for you as well. If you're better off, moving to that base, finding a place for you to live. If you're, single, young, do it. If you have kids like I do, it's not really an option. You kind of got to figure it out for the rest. But yeah, so when I'm in New York, I do have a place that I stay. I have an apartment that I stay in, and there is a car service that takes us from the airport to my apartment. And it's only in certain areas that the car service is for. But for those of you who might be interested in coming to New York, I definitely recommend it. I love it. I love the cruise. I love the flying. I love the high flying time, the credit times. I'll get into that in another video as well, just to describe to you guys like what that means, and the basically just flight attendant verbiage. But yeah, I love New York. I can't complain. Like, people ask me all the time, like, because when I first got on the line, my intentions was to transfer to Atlanta. And y'all see that I haven't transferred. And there's many reasons why, but we're not going to get into that today. But yeah, I love New York. I would never live there. But I love working out of New York. Let's put it that way. But yeah, let me make sure I got everything, because y'all know I like to rant. But yeah, basically it just says be prepared to have, finding a crash pad, sleeping in the lounge, or paying for extra amenities, such as a car service or the train or the bus. And that's wherever you might be based at. Just think about financially if you're okay with doing that. Now, when I first got on the line, I don't know about y'all, and I could probably speak for some of my classmates, we didn't have that much money like that. Like, we quit our jobs before we got there. We did get paid while we were in training, but it wasn't a lot. So you kind of had to, like, budget tightly. Yeah, and I'll also make a video about that, about financing before you leave for training and all that stuff, like just money wise, like how you should prepare yourself for training and after you graduate, stuff like that. So I'll make a video about that as well. I'm trying to beat the the sun setting, so that's why I'm like trying to do this a little quick, y'all. Y'all see my sun is dwindling slowly. But yes, so my last one is about parenting. So if you're thinking about going into this new career lifestyle, I ask that you think about your support system. That is a big, big, big thing. Who do you have as a responsible and dependable support system for your child, for your children? Do you have like your husband or your parents or a good friend that you trust with your whole entire life to watch your kids? As a parent, and I know I can speak for many of us that are flight attendants, we don't just trust our kids with anybody. And you also can't just leave your kids with anybody, because you got to think about it like this, especially as mothers. I've met, a few dads as well, but especially for us mothers, you go to work, and what's the one thing on your mind when you're at work? Your kids. You want to make sure that they're in good hands. Now, luckily in my situation, the father of my child was able to, stay with my daughter while I was in training for 2 months. And even then I was still, I had never been away from my child for that long. So that was definitely an adjustment. And when I got on the line, he was still there. And then she also goes to see my mom on certain weekends, some weekends. So I have a sense of like, I know she's in good hands. I don't have to worry about her. Do I still worry about her? Absolutely, because I'm a mom. And I want to make sure my baby's okay. But I know that she's always good. And that's because she's with someone that I know and that I trust. So I ask you guys to please, 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 please consider who your support system is. And literally sit down with them and get an understanding between you two of what's about to happen, or what could possibly happen if you do get through this whole experience and end up being a flight attendant. Because I've met people who have literally left this job because of their kids, because they didn't have a supportive support system. Like they thought they had a support system, but that support system fell through all the way, and they were like, I can't do this. Like, there's no one to be with my child, and that's a no-no. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. I would have done the same thing. So yeah, consider that. And just know that for those of you who might be thinking about becoming a flight attendant and you have young children, you might be thinking you're going to feel guilty if you take this job, if you take this opportunity. You're going to be thinking you're going to miss out on so much. And you are. You definitely are. But I can say that now I am proud of myself, and I am blessed for the opportunities that I have because I am a flight attendant. Like, I'm able to travel the world, show my daughter the world. And I wouldn't have been able, honestly, it would have taken me a long time to be able to do that in the job that I was working before I became a flight attendant. And also with the money that I was making before I became a flight attendant. So, yeah, and there are still days that I'm, you know, away from her, and I'm just guilty. Like, I just feel so guilty for being away from her. Like, I feel like a horrible mom because I've been gone for days and I haven't seen her. But you gotta think, as a parent, like, it's not easy, but we do what we gotta do for our kids. Like, I wouldn't have even thought about getting into this job if I wasn't looking to, you know, make more money and be able to, you know, travel and explore and do all this stuff. And I do it for her. So always remember why you do the things that you do. But yes, wow, besides that was deep. I also wrote in here, if you have young kids, explain to them your new job. Talk to them. My daughter, she was two when I started this job. Wait, no. Yeah, wait. 2 or 3. One of those two. And now she's 5. So it's, you know, when I first started this job, it was hard for her when I leave to the airport. But as I continued to go and she'd see me and she's like, Mom, you're going to work on the plane? And I'm like, yes, baby. Yes, I am. So she loves the airport. She loves flying on planes. She flies better than most children. Like, my daughter will sit there and just be chilling. Like, she's good. And like, literally, it takes me having to see her in my element that makes me feel better about it. And it's crazy. Like, it took that for me to be okay with it. But yeah, explain your new job to them. Like, explain to them that you will not be home, you know, all the time, but you're doing your best and you'll be home when you can. And also, it's, you know, I keep pictures of her in my wallet since she, you know, that was just always been me, no matter what job I worked, because I always just like to look at her. Or even in your phone, just look at pictures. And in the beginning, it won't be easy, but it'll definitely get a lot easier the longer that you're on the line. And that's how I think about it right now. Like, I'm 2.5 years in, and some days I'm just like, nah, bro, this ain't for me. But everything happens for a reason, and I'm here for a reason. Like, there's a reason that I'm doing this job right now. And I know that over time, like, my schedule's gonna get better. Like, my time off is gonna increase, that I could be home with my daughter. And we all just have to go through it. And when I first got on the line, like, I lived in a crash pad with like women that were flying for like 10 plus years. And the first thing that they'd always tell me, they're like, just stick it out. Just stick it out and see what happens. Like, those first 6 months, they might be a little rough, but stick it out. That first year is going to be rough, but stick it out. I definitely recommend that. So, I mean, honestly, y'all, at the end of the day, the choice is yours. I would love every single one of you that have aspirations to become a flight attendant, to go after your dreams. If this is your 3rd, 4th, 5th time applying, do it. If this is really what you want, go for it. But I also ask you to take a look at the possibilities and the pros and cons of the career. Because it's definitely important, like, to not just go in blind, you know, and just be like, okay, I'm all for it, let's do it. Like, no, please please don't do that. Like, that makes me nervous. Like, like, I need y'all to do your research and understand that, you know, this might not be for you. Something else might be for you, but this could be the thing for you as well. So yeah, you always got options. But yeah, y'all, that's all I wanted to go through, which is my little five tips to think about before applying. But I encourage all of you to come and join us. We'd love to have you. And yeah, like, next year's gonna be awesome to see all of you guys, you know, go through graduation and get on the line. And if y'all see me in New York, say hey. But yeah, y'all, I honestly love, because I knew what it felt like going through trading and getting on the line, and I had no clue what I was doing when I got on the line, but we figured it out all together. Like, you will meet the sweetest people on this airline. And honestly, I probably wouldn't be where I am if there's certain people that I haven't met. There are certain people that have left an imprint on my heart. And when I tell you they're the sweetest people I will ever meet in my life, oh, y'all. There are stories of just the wonderful people. And especially in New York, like I love, and that's one of the main things about New York that I love is the crews. Like, whew, y'all be killing it. Y'all be killing it. That's why I love y'all. But yes, y'all. That's all I got for today. I'm definitely gonna be making more videos coming out. I just need to buckle down and get it done. And this is literally the first time that I broke out my camera in a while. So I'm gonna definitely get back to your videos for you guys. And I figured literally when, you know, when everyone started talking about, when the email came out that we were gonna start opening up applications for everyone, I was like, this is the perfect time. Like, why not come and talk to y'all? Because I know y'all want to know the 411. So why not give it to you? But yes, y'all, I love you guys. Y'all are amazing. Keep doing great things. Go after what you want. Don't allow people to get in your head and make you feel that you're not good enough or not able to do things that you want to do with your life. Go after it. Don't allow your fears to control you. And with that, I'm gonna say toodles. Bye, y'all.